Elbow room, the one thing you're always missing at family dinners, so you bump into your somewhat odd uncle while trying to eat the slightly overcooked meat your grandmother served? Or is that just a me problem? Anyway, in Heroes 3, elbow room is something completely different. Elbow room means having way too many AI factions crammed together with you on a small map. How can we do this as fast as possible? Let's take a look at it. There are 6 factions and 8 towns, of which 2 are neutral. You can play as any faction, but there are some which are easier than others to play in my opinion. The middle colors, blue and teal, can be attacked from both east and west, so any corner color would be preferable. All factions have a random treasure artifact close by, but pink's artifact is quite far away compared to the other corner factions, so they're ruled out. That leaves red, tan and purple. And red simply has more access to stuff, like the rallying flag, star axis and mercenary camp, which the 2 others don't. So I believe red is the best color to choose. The way I approach this map is very simple. Just go straight for each new faction in quick succession. So east to blue, then further east to tan, south to pink, west to teal, and further west to purple. If any of the neutral towns are taken, I build up the middle north town a little bit to be able to attack with the second hero, as my main will be preoccupied with the southern towns. How do I have the income to build up any towns? As you can see, there are no mines, but the scenario's gimmick is that for each town you own at the end of a week, you gain 14 wood and ore, 7 mercury, sulfur, crystals and gems, and 7,000 gold. This means that if I'm quick enough to conquer any towns, I'll have more than enough resources to build up a town a little bit in week 2. The second gimmick, if you will, is that each town starts with a mage skill built and a town hall, which means I will have to assume every enemy hero has magic arrow, so I'll definitely bleed a lot of army to this. So which faction and hero am I going for? I need a hero who can win early fights quickly as to not lose too much army, so a spellcaster with strong spells is preferable. Deemer is a possibility, as he starts with Meteor Shower. Aislinn as well for the same reason, but the issue with Meteor Shower is that if the enemy only has 3 or fewer stacks, like starting armies usually have, it can't hit more than 1 stack at a time, making it a glorified magic arrow. If I wanted single target damage, I would go for CL again, but I don't want to play Conflux twice in a row. The other extremely good spell for early damage is Chain Lightning, which means Solmir! Solmir, Sol! I also like to give the viewers what they want, so your boy Solmir is getting some action. This is literally the strategy. Use Chain Lightning and go straight for the enemies. I might be inflicting some friendly fire at some point, but be honest guys, who hasn't done that with Chain Lightning at some point? This scenario has so many moving parts that I will just make all the enemies random towns, so I don't have to deal with figuring out if there's an absolute optimal assortment of enemy towns, as it would just take too long to map out. It is what it is. I will save first thing on day 1, then try to figure out the optimal way to solve the puzzle that is the enemy factions and heroes I'm dealt. Sounds good? I hope so. Tower, Solmir, red color, gold starting bonus, everything else random. Let's go! Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and you can now even become a channel member. Teehee. I immediately head for the closest fight, which is the random tier 7 creature guarding the Keymaster's tent, and then start resetting. I'm looking for the Dragonbone Greaves, which lets me cast more spells more powerfully. After finding the seed with the Greaves, I leave everything but the stone gargoyles in town, pick up the Greaves, visit the Star Axis, and then set my sights on the nearby treasure chest. The next day, I get the gold from the chest in order to hire a second hero, Hallan. I buy the gremlins in town and trade everything over to Solmir. A little bit of army setup and I'm all ready to take on Blue's Necropolis town. No time to waste here. Vidomina, with her 1 Walking Dead, is just auto-combated, while the real test hides in town. Auto loses, but I believe I can win quite convincingly. Charna is the hero hiding. She has vampires already. Dang. She moves both her flyers out on turn 1, making a Chain Lightning difficult to connect without hitting my own units. So I wait, in order to let the Skellies and Walking Dead move forward as well. Slowing my gremlins is annoying, but I wasn't gonna attack with them now anyway. Aiming my Chain Lightning on the skeletons should only hit her units, which basically cuts her army in half. Good start. I then move everything up to defend my gremlins, as they are the most useful stack I have, but I have to wait out the slow. On turn 2, she takes out one gargoyle, but I counter with a magic arrow to take out 2 of her vampires. Maybe aiming for the skeletons would be better, but they won't reach this turn. I then open a path to my gremlins, for some reason, but Charna seems more interested in hitting my gargs and stone golems. I make a bit of a time-saving judgment call and finish with quick combat, and I end up losing just 11 gremlins, 3 golems and 3 gargoyles. And blue is vanquished. There was no way I was losing after the perfect chain anyway, but I still kinda regret finishing with quick combat. I then enter the town and take advantage of the mage skill to restore spell points for the next day. Day 3, I hire Ryan, who trades over his army to SoulSilver, including the first aid tent. The AI tends to love going for the tent, which could save me some army, and army preservation is very important on this map. I then find Syra with her quite small army. Auto manages to lose a hefty amount of army, suggesting she will cast a bunch of magic arrows, which I'm just gonna avoid by frying her with the chain lightning. Since I have my golems in the bottom 2 stacks, along with the tent, they soak up all the friendly damage, losing me exactly 0 army, even though Syra only had 2 stacks. Handy! I visit the nearby magic well the next day, making me extra prepared for the siege fight against Tan. Their myth is first, but she and her single null are smacked away by a magic arrow. Auto then loses to Drakon in the siege fight, but as you can probably already guess, I'm gonna chain him. I come to the conclusion that gargoyles will do more damage, as he can outspeed the gremlins, so the first chain hit goes on them. Not that too many gremlins remain either anyway. And if I aimed for the gremlins, there's a 50-50 chance the next hit would go on the golems, which would then be a lot of wasted damage. Drakon manages to block his hasted golems in, which is really funny to me. On the next turn, I start magic arrowing, his golems still behind the walls. After taking out the gremlins, his golems are next on the arrow menu. I prepare to take retaliation on the 1 stack of pikemen, before sending the cavalry in. On the final turn, I magic arrow again and just smack the golems about until they crumble, literally. Only 1 griffin and 1 pikeman lost. We march on, picking up air magic in the process. Tan is vanquished as well. 2 out of 5 down. In town, I build a wall of knowledge, swing by with SoulSilver purely for the +1 knowledge, leave all the slower units behind, and head straight out again. Meanwhile, my 2 other heroes pick up a bunch of resources, which actually will come in handy later. SoulSilver then regains spell points again on the magic well, and I hire a 4th hero, Rylan, whose only task is to upgrade gremlins and bring the army back to SoulSilver. Well done, Rylan. Top job! SoulSilver then swings by the learning stone, picking up the most important secondary skill of this playthrough, logistics. This proves to be extremely useful. He then meets up with Ryan, who graciously takes all the slow units off SoulSilver's hands, before ending the turn. I get a glimpse of Craghack, who has a decent army, prompting my scouting heroes to GTFO. Ryan transfers the army back to SoulSilver, who finds Sephiroth wandering about. I debate whether to attack her or not, but I end up going for it, thinking she might go for the close by Rampart town if I don't, which would then cost me more time. Her most threatening stack is definitely the Beholders, so I chain them. She then hastes her Trogs, who get the morale and take out my Griffins. This is bad, real bad. Thankfully, my Gremlins take out 21 Trogs in 1 hit, but I might bleed more army here. I take retaliations on the Trogs with my Stone Golems, who are then healed by the first aid tent. Coming in handy there. After hits for my Pikemen and Gargoyles, only 6 Trogs are left. Crisis averted. I Magic Arrow the Harpies the next turn, thinking they are a bigger threat than the Medusas. Not sure I made the right call though, since the Medusas moraled and got a second hit in. Hindsight and all that. After taking a Magic Arrow to the Gremlins' face and a hit from the Harpies, only 38 Gremlins are left standing. A final Magic Arrow and a shot from the Gremlins finished the fight, but that went way worse than expected. Sieging pink might actually be tough. Before ending the day, I sent Ryland to the Necro Town, where I have just enough sulfur to build a mausoleum. The resource collection sure came in handy. Very nice. Day 7 and I skipped the nearby magic well, going straight for Deemer in the dungeon town. I magic arrow the trogs and get a hit in with my gremlins before I get a reminder of how I mega ultra misplayed the positioning after getting meteor showered. I know he has this spell, I just completely brain farted. A second turn of magic arrow plus gremlin hit leaves him at 1 trog and he flees. At least some of these fights prove you don't have to be a genius to win on these maps. Some more army tinkering and I'm ready to siege Pink's town. Sarfax guards the town, but he is toasted in 1 turn by the chain lightning plus gremlin hit combo. Making good progress despite my fighting prowess. I build a mana vortex in town, giving me essentially infinite spell points. I then get the enormous amount of resources from the map gimmick, letting me build a bunch of useful stuff. In the dungeon town, I build a manticore lair and then recruit all the available army, making sure I don't bring creatures from more than 2 different factions, as that would make my morale negative. With my logistics, I'm able to reach Teal's stronghold town in 1 turn. Oris is first up, and I once again cast Chain Lightning, this time on the only immediate threat, the orcs. Unfortunately, the chain then bounces from the ballista to the ammo cart and not to the goblins, but it's not the hugest of deals. Following some minor movement from my bottom 2 stacks, I take out the goblins with ranged hits from the Medusas, Gremlins and the Beholders, before I eventually take out the Wolf Riders with my 2 Manticores, only losing 6 Gremlins to a magic arrow. Easy peasy. Sorug hides in the town with a pitiful army, if I may say so. If he and Oris combine their armies, maybe this would be harder? I'm outsped, as this is stronghold terrain. I was supposed to set up the perfect chain after waiting with my Manticores to let the Wolf Riders move into chain range, but of course they morale. All my plans destroyed! Luckily, I have now developed an absolute galaxy brain, so when it's my Gremlins' turn, I activate Brain Mode. Gremlins? I couldn't give a toss about them anymore. I have dungeon creatures now. I carefully move them into position and let the chain fly, roasting the goblins, 2 rocks, all my useless gremlins, may they rest in peace, and 4 wolf riders. My beholders take some damage too, but none die, thankfully. Afterwards, I just hit the remaining creatures with whatever I can, and it's an easy victory. Battle summary says I lost some units, but do they even count? Nah. Expert Air is picked up, Teal is vanquished, and I can rest in my newest base. 4 out of 5 down. In my Necro Town, I build a Hall of Darkness, recruit everything but the Walking Dead, they suck lol, and send Ryland towards Craghack. I don't want him to go for any towns, as that would really slow me down. In the Stronghold Town, formerly known as Teal's Stronghold Town, to optimize movement points, I upgrade the Cliff Nest and recruit the Thunderbirds on Solmir. We're ready for the next day. I see Mr. Hack get the obelisk after taking out the Behemoth guards, but I'm not frightened. Ryland's army outmatches Crag's by a fair bit, and since the auto-combat was this convincing, I don't bother fighting it out. It was never gonna be close. I then just immediately head for the final occupied town on the map, Purple's Stronghold Town. It wasn't until I entered combat that I realized I forgot the rest of the army in town. Whoops. Thankfully, Solmir doesn't really need an army to fight. Expert Chain Lightning does the trick. Theodorus does whatever he can, but he can barely damage my Thunderbirds. 12 goblins are beaked down, and if there's one thing I regret, it's not finishing this playthrough by Chain Lightning my own Thunderbirds here for the win. What a missed opportunity. Instead, I foolishly magic arrow the orcs for the victory. How sad. Purple has been vanquished, scenario victory is mine, and it only took me 9 days. I'm actually very happy with this. 448 score, an Archangel rank, means that if I found the Grail, this is a 498 score. Which I already got from a 12-day playthrough I did while testing out this map. And for once, I didn't actually need the Grail to do this quickly. How nice. I thoroughly enjoyed making this, and I hope you enjoyed watching as well. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. You can also become a channel member by clicking join down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next week as well. Have a might and magically good day.